What it do? What it do? Oh my goodness. Do we have a show for you tonight? Breaking news. The Derek Chauvin verdict is in, guilty on all three charges. Do not pass $200. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. You go straight to jail. This is not a game. We're not playing Monopoly, sir. You're guilty. Hi, I'm Wendy Torres of the Mentor Mentee podcast. Glad that you all are here with us tonight, and I am ready to go. Hey, Emil, what's going down?
Hey, Wendy. Happy Tuesday, y'all.
Happy Tuesday.
It's a good day.
It's going up on a Tuesday.
Wendy's on a whole new level, y'all.
Yes.
It's going to be a great episode. I feel good. Can we get into check-ins?
Yes.
How was your day, Wendy?
Oh, okay. So my day has been interesting. I had to take the day off. I'm dealing with a little bit of so listen, I'm old. And all of these sprints and running that we have been doing, my sister's knees are not holding up. So I'm okay. I'm gonna go and check out and see what's going on with my knees because we can't be like wobbly, drop it we can't be wobbling and not be able to drop it like it's hot because then we can't get back up. So it's not cute to be able to drop it and then not be able to get back up. And right now, all we're doing is the wobble part. We're just wobbling. So we're going to get that together.
I was trying to figure out something to say to get you back.
I'm here. So how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I can't complain. It was a Tuesday for me. Nothing extraordinary. But yeah, then the Chauvin situation happened, which happened very quick, which was a very heightened moment. I think it's fascinating how theatrical news is and the cycle that it puts itself in over and over. I just enjoy watching the beginning of each person when they start because they just feel like they're going to share something that we hadn't been listening to for the last 2 hours.
Right.
So that's just where I'm at. But it's a good Tuesday, so let's get into the conversation. We clearly were supposed to have another conversation today. We had agreed upon having the church hurt conversation. And then when the jury, which I still want to have the conversation because I'm interested in it. But when the jury came out, Wayne called me and was like, I guess we got to do a topic change. And so here we are. We're going to do a topic change and talk about how we actually feel about something as epic as this is, even though for me, I really think about this just being the beginning of what is to come because organizers and activists could agree that what we've been waiting for a very long time is a single case in which we can start to collect the database of other cases that are equally or somewhat related and should all be judged the same way in our justice system. So go ahead. I'm saying so finally getting a guilty verdict allows that to happen. And that has been something that we've been really working towards for a very long time.
Yeah. So I was really what you were saying made me think about Eric Gardner. Like I really was watching when I was watching the case and I was watching the case like lay out and how the DA really laid out their case. I said, because murder has no statutes of limitations. I was like, you know what? That Eric Gardner case really could be reopened when you start looking at that whole I can't get into all the scientific, the medical things about the whole suffocation and the thoracic choke, like all of that pressure on the body, the excellent work that they did about the scientific and medical piece about what was done to George Floyd, I feel applies in the Eric Gardner case. But I don't know if they'll bring it back or not. So Why? Yeah. Okay. So listen, that's the thing I love about our podcast because it's live and it's in real time. And
Mm-hmm.
so we have the option and the opportunity to shift gears because we're shooting live. And like as we're speaking right now, the president and the vice president are giving they're giving a press conference and speaking about this case. Listen, this is a shift. This is a pivotal. So I just want to shout out to our people on Facebook, people on YouTube, and our Instagrammers that are all chiming in. Thank you so much for being with us here tonight because this is a monumentous day. When people ask you, what were you doing when the George Floyd verdict came in, you'll all remember that. And I chose at that moment to be actually FaceTiming Nate. Like that's where I was when the verdict came in because I knew we were going to be talking tonight. But this is a monumental shift in the atmosphere of justice. I know it is just the beginning. I know that it doesn't do everything. I think Sean King was when I was watching his Instagram earlier today. He talked about like the balance when George Floyd was killed. The balance of justice was so tilted one way that even the verdict only brings it a little bit. It doesn't even bring it full circle because we still got three other people. However,
Mm-hmm.
the smallest tear in the fabric of oppression is still a tear. So I'm here. I'm excited. I'm ready to celebrate that hard work of protest, marching, prayer, speaking from different platforms, all of the different types of people, races of people that have spoken out in this past year to see this is the second time the vote, the election, to see your work come, to see the fruits of your labor. I think tonight is a night that we need to be able to talk about that and celebrate it. And so I'm glad to be here tonight.
Okay. So let's have a conversation. How y'all feeling out there? I'm gonna be windy today. Y'all gonna have to talk to us because if we're gonna do a live show on live things that are happening in the moment, that means we all have to participate in how we are feeling, which is
Yeah.
the epitome of building community and sharing who we
So
are.
one of the things that we're going to do tonight that we've never done before, if you are a person, so first of all, what he was saying was he needs to see y'all in the comments to know that you're here. So secondly, so those of you that are listening later, yes, I terrorize the people. That's what I do. I want to know you're here. Go ahead and give me some feedback. And if you're listening to the replay, you need to leave a comment too. All right. So um, the link to the podcast is actually in the chat. So if you have real feelings and you want to express them, we actually want to hear from you tonight, not just in the comments, but let's pull you up. Let's talk about it. So we'll get started with ourselves. So Nate, tell me, like, what were your initial feelings and thoughts?
I was actually it's so funny because I was celebrating 420 when you called me. But in this celebration, I had this conversation. I was having a conversation with a friend who I was with, and there was a moment where we were listening to the news for the whole hour, right? That we're waiting for court to come back in. And in that hour, I was talking to her and I was like, isn't it funny how there's a 50-50 chance right now? Like it's either guilty or it's either not guilty. And even in us knowing how often it is that it comes back as not guilty, there's hope that like starts to like creep in as the time is clicking to this actually happening. And so it was a moment of me recognizing like, look, every time this happens, we're going to have a moment of hope. We're going to actually believe for a quick second that this is actually going to happen, even though we know that we don't believe it. And then when it actually happens, the question for me keeps coming up is like, okay, so what's next? What do we do next? Because either right, and I'm not downplaying it. Like the celebration is great, right? But the question is, what's next? So are they going to try to are they going to try to appeal after he gets sentenced in a couple of weeks? is the prosecution team going to pick up another case and start to create this lineage of other cases that they could, as you were speaking about George Floyd, that they may be able to relate the two together. For many people who are doing that work, it is a very small victory in which you talk about like that shred. It's important that we got the rip. But we got to remember how small that rip is to the sheet that we're trying to burn down.
Right. So I love that analogy you gave. Hey, Kristen, so glad you're here with us tonight. So just making sure, hey, those of you on Facebook and those of you on Instagram, we're so glad that you're here with us tonight. So we want to hear your thoughts. We're talking about the Derek Chauvin case. Where were you when the verdict came in? What are your raw emotional feelings? If you want to be on the podcast tonight, we're like, that's where we are. You can come over to Facebook Live and we've got the link on there. We will pull you in and we will have a 3-way conversation. But that's a very good point that you're making, right? Just what is happening, the anticipation. And then here, Kiji said, now what she's saying, okay, now what? But then you have Kawana that says, the sad thing is I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, is the judge going to find a loophole or some way to give him probation only? And that is why tonight was so important, because we as a people never, ever have the opportunity to celebrate. If you can think about times in your childhood, maybe your parents, maybe more, that when you wanted to celebrate the smallest of accomplishment, there was no time to celebrate. It was immediately like, what's the next step? Because we are so conditioned as a people to know that things don't go our way. And when they do go our way, they don't go our way long. Mm-hmm. So I think that Kawana and Kiji's sentiments are genuine. Okay, what next? Like, I can't even stay here in this mental space to even give myself the right to expand in this space and celebrate and be happy and say, thank you, universe. Thank you, God, that finally. Do you guys understand? This is the first time that a white police officer has been found guilty of the murder of a Black man. Now, if I'm wrong, correct me. But both of your sentiments are very true. And that just speaks to why I thought we needed to take this time to express ourselves and to feel this moment, because we don't ever get an opportunity to breathe. Mm-hmm. When do we ever just release and breathe? That's that, and not just a breath so I can survive, but that breath of I'm okay. And I believe that this is a moment that we are actually okay, but I understand the apprehension to feel the right to take it in. Elle has inspired me. Do you like my metaphors for tonight?
Yeah, I hear where you're going. I feel like the sermon is coming. I'm gonna see if I can put some kindling on it, because I feel like
okay. All right. So where my initial thoughts about the verdict, I have watched every single day of this trial. I watched it every day. I watched the DA lay out their case. I watched the defense lay out their case. I watched it every day.
Who was the strongest witness?
The strongest witness, oh God, I'm going to mess it up. But it was the medical, somebody else, I'm horrible. Y'all know I'm horrible with names. Mm-hmm. It was the medical examiner who was the person that dealt with the pulmonary doctor.
That male
the,
doctor.
the male doctor who was a pulmonary doctor who spoke directly
To them.
to the audience. He spoke directly to the jury and explained every piece of why George Floyd, like when he said this, watch the video, that's the moment that life left his body. I bawled. I just fell out in tears.
Mm-hmm.
Like I literally watched a man die, but I watched it over and over and over again. When you think about the fact, I won't get into it, but he was the most powerful, compelling witness because the way he laid out his testimony was concise, perfect, and on point. The most compelling witness was the older man who they call the mayor,
Mm-hmm.
who just literally was walking by. And when he got on the witness stand, 60 something year old Black man with all of the dignity and honor that our fathers and grandfathers and uncles have wept. And he wept profusely. And you couldn't do anything but cry too. So my initial reaction to the verdict was numbness.
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping that was what was going to happen. I kept preparing myself that something else could happen because I don't like to be disappointed. And I just was in disbelief and in shock. So I'm probably going to end up bawling in the middle of this episode, y'all. So be ready.
Oh, okay.
Because it's just hitting me.
That's understandable. Kiji said, is the prison cell going to be an Airbnb? I just need to know.
Y'all saw, I don't know. Y'all saw how y'all see how they put they put our boy in handcuffs like this. He never been in hand. They never showed him being put in handcuffs, but they did today in the prone position. Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, that isn't that supposed to be the see now this is where I start an argument where I go, it's not an argument, but here's where I start to fight back and go, but that's the difference in what they'll do to a white man versus what they're gonna do to a black man. Because a black man would have been shown in handcuffs from the first day. They waited until he was found guilty and and all his rights were taken from him to then show him being put in handcuffs. So they literally watched till his respect was gone and his dignity was gone. They were like, okay, now you're nothing. Here you go. Which in return goes to say, when you do handcuff us, you do think we're nothing. Because that's the only time you're going to do it to your counterpart. I digress though. Today's a celebration.
And no. It's what we say it is. So I just think all of this speaks to our mental anguish. Like today is one of the okay. So when I was on the phone with Hillstar, so I was dozing off.
Mm-hmm.
But people were talking about, and there was a jury expert on CNN,
mm-hmm.
and she's talking about when the jury next week. Because that was her anticipation. It was going to take until next week for them to give us anything. If it gets to next week, then we can worry. But right now, we're good. And then I'm dozing off, and then all of a sudden I hear there's a verdict. I mean, the verdict is in. So I call Hill Story, right? And I'm like, girl, the verdict is in. And we're both just like, this is just a lot. It's a lot to think about. And everybody's anticipation and our feelings are on edge. Like you're just really on edge. You don't know what's going to happen. I just like collectively as a people, I am looking at everybody's timeline, like praying and just what if? I just feel for us.
It's crazy, Wendy, because in these moments, I tend to run away from social media. Like when I know there's going to be a huge moment where everyone's opinion is going to come out at once, and it's going to be a major shift in our community, I don't even want to be a part of that moment anymore. I just don't even want to see it. Partly because when you can't expect it to go in your favor, it's heartbreaking. And what's crazy is when you build your social media to really be, your people, your family, your friends, if it's your following that you truly adhere, and then you see them all go through it, like what that mentally does to you, because then you're seeing all of these images 10 times over. And then we find her, and then for me, it's like that's actually where we get into I find myself in a darker place at that point, because I've seen the image, like you're saying, that you've seen that video over and over and over and over. I have to first say I got to commend you for watching not just this trial, but that the fact that you watch all of them. I didn't watch all of this one. I probably did half. I listened to most of it. I wasn't able to watch, but I did listen to most of it. And a lot of the time, I would have to just take breaks and turn it off.
Yeah, so not only did I watch this entire trial, I also watched the Trayvon Martin trial in its entirety. I have to know what's going to happen. I understand, like we understand that there is Gail, hi, Chris, how are you? So I understand that there is a public sentiment, but you have to know, being an AP government teacher, that doesn't mean I know the law so much and that I know that I'm a lawyer, but you have to know how the law works, and it is so succinct and it is so tricky. So what is common sense to me and you watching this man maliciously torment the people that are watching him? Can we call it what it is? He did what he did to George Floyd for the audience that he had.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about a depraved heart, Derek Chauvin has a depraved heart. His heart is depraved because he was looking in the eyes of those people that was watching him and digging his knee into that man's neck for them, reminding them that this could be you. I want you, that I think you have the nerve to talk to me, to know what I can do to you. That's what he did that for. And so I watched the Trayvon Martin case as well, because I need to know, even though we saw that the truth is the jury might not get all of that. Number one, they don't always get all the evidence. They don't know that Derek Chauvin has used that same tactic before. They don't know that George Floyd had a test, that they had tested his blood and that there was no carbon dioxide in it. So that whole defense that he could have died from carbon monoxide poisoning was fallacy. And if the defense attorney would lie on that, then he would lie about something else. So those jurors didn't know that. But in the Trayvon Martin case, I knew that the verdict was not going to come back correctly when the DA, the prosecutor, allowed that audio of the interaction between George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin be played over and over again up until the gun going off, and the defense said that the person screaming was George Zimmerman.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept listening to it saying, that's a child. Like, I couldn't comprehend that for the life of me. And had I been the prosecutor, I would have said that was a child. That was Trayvon. So when it came back not guilty, I wasn't shocked. I watched this case, and this prosecutor did an amazing job. And so I was hoping that this was what it would be. Go ahead and read that one.
It said that we had to have a week plus of court for his verdict to be guilty.
I mean, you're so right, Kurt. Like, I mean, I wanted to post so many times. Can you all understand? I need us to understand. Now, America, those of you who are listening to this later, I need us to understand the great lengths it took to find a man guilty for the murder that he committed on camera. not on one camera, not on two, not on three or four, but 9+ different angles of him murdering a man. And this prosecutor, this DA team had to go to such great lengths to prove it. If that does not speak to the white supremacy in America, nothing else does.
It's very true. Kid, you said, why do we need a video for it to be true that it happened? Just because there isn't a video for other cases doesn't mean it didn't happen.
And that's a great question. Why?
Because that's the hypocrisy of our government. I'll say it. It's the hypocrisy of our government. It's the same reason why I'm not even gonna start the comparisons.
Why? It's your podcast. So
y'all can choose what comparison you want. But we all know that there are certain cases and there are certain laws that favor the whites and only the whites.
So here's my question.
Or gender. It's not just race, it's also gender.
So here's one of the things that was brought up in this case that I want to bring to everybody's attention. They talked about depraved indifference, but they talked about in the care, in the custody and care. So once a person is in custody of the police, that they are also in their care. And that the fact that Derek Chauvin and the other police officers failed to render aid to George Floyd, that they were negligent and actually caused his death, right? I think that was very powerful, because it's one thing for you to try to subdue him, but once you realized, number one, he didn't have a pulse, number two, he was no longer moving, you refuse to render aid. So here's my question, and then we'll go to Kawana's comment.
Okay.
So according to that concept, rendering aid, aren't the police officers that shot Breonna Taylor guilty of the exact same thing? Did they not shoot her and then take the boyfriend downstairs or out of the apartment? And did the boyfriend not say over and over again, my girlfriend is up there and she's been shot? And none of those police officers rendered aid. Did she not bleed out on the floor is my point.
Yep.
I'm just trying to bring, I just want you to, so if you're just chiming in, today we're talking about the Derek Chauvin case. We're talking about our reactions and yours. So for all of our listeners who are on here on Facebook or YouTube, we've put the link in the comments. If you want to come up and talk, we want to hear your voice. Please come on and talk to us. But I brought up two situations. So according to this whole suffocation medical process that was brought up in the George Floyd case, I feel like the Eric Gardner case could be reopened. And with the refusal to render aid, I believe that is a issue that could be brought up for Breonna Taylor. So Ashley, so what did Kawana say? Well, okay, you have Ashley.
Yeah, so Kawana said there was a video for Rodney King, and we see what happened there, which is 100% true.
That 100 and that was
6 times they hit him.
People were so worried. This is giving me very much Rodney King and Trayvon Martin vibes. Hill Story said it.
And then Ashley said, that's why we can't set the bar with this case. This is a small victory in a fight to reform a system, which I think is 100% true. A whole system.
System.
And the whole thing is that we haven't even touched the system yet, because this case was not about the system. This case was about a man. And now they have to make that man the system. That's the epic challenge right there. How do you make a man a system? Well, they did it with slavery, so we could do it with him.
Well, no, but they did it with so a man. So you have Emmett Till, right? That was the
Yeah.
beginning of a system. Um, that was the beginning of an issue, and so that is why George Floyd's brother mentioned his brother as connected to George Floyd. I mean, to
Emmett.
Emmett Till. And then, yeah, you're right, Kurt. There was a video with Philando Castile. I saw it. I watched it.
Yes, there was. There's been a lot of videos.
Like, what's the young man that shot all those people at their protest with his rifle, walked up to the police, and Philando Castile just said, "There's a gun in the car," and died. Okay, I'm gonna say something, and then we'll get to the next comment, and I'm gonna say it, and it is what it is. Hill story. I almost told you be ready to come on tonight, but okay. Click the link, friend. Click the link.
I was gonna say, Hill story. Wendy wants you on here. Come on up.
The link, friend.
If you ain't driving,
right. I almost feel like it's a systematic process. Like it's a systematic murder of our men, our husbands, our fathers, our brothers, our sons, because even though someone might face consequences after the fact, the person is already dead. George Floyd is gone. All of these other people are gone. The names, and like you have to study just to practice and know all the names.
And here's the thing: Wendy, it's really hard to get into a state of like, I don't know. For me, it feels like it's hard to get into a state of relaxation, especially while we're in the middle of this case, we have another one dying, another one being murdered, and so we're really just waiting for like who's next. Because let me just speak for myself. I'm looking forward to the day where the news can go 3 months and not talk about a black man being killed.
Right.
Then I'll feel like we actually did something. Where where my consciousness no longer thinks about the killing of a black man, or just the killing of a black individual. When we get to that point, then I feel like we made it. I don't know.
And like Ashley said, we haven't made it. This is a very small tear in a huge, deep, thick tapestry. Like the weaving of this particular cloth is so tight. It's like wool. And all we've done is pick at it. But the point is, just for one moment, can we just acknowledge that there's a little bit of a hole? Just a little. We understand that the tapestry is woven, but there is a small bit of a hole. Okay, Annie said, let's look at Annie's comment.
Yes, he was calling for help, and he still didn't know what happened. He still didn't know they were cops. They tell me they knew they screwed up, and they ran away like cowards instead of trying to help the woman whose life they stole.
Oh, talking about Breonna Taylor. Yeah. I mean I'm just saying, because in the United States of America, murder has no statute of limitations, and the fact that I know that those cases, unless the verdicts came in with prejudice. If it's with prejudice, then you can't retry it. You can't go back. Getting an appeal based on new evidence is difficult, but it is possible. So, I'm just saying, with that depraved indifference and not rendering aid, that was something the DA in this case and this prosecuting team just showed us a flawless victory in how these other prosecutors have I need y'all to see the expletive that I'm throwing out there. These other cases so badly because they.
I got it.
Because they those cases so badly because they laid it all out. Depraved indifference, excessive force, and the refusal to render aid.
Hold on, y'all. Let me bring the queen in.
Oh, here she comes.
Here she goes.
Here she goes.
Oh man. Okay.
It's about to get crazy. So as here she,
Hi, Hill Story.
Hey y'all.
hi guys. So here's our friend Hill Story.
Hey guys. Let me turn on my.
Our very first guest on the Mentor Mentee podcast show.
Hey y'all.
How are you, friend?
I'm good, friend. I had to get off the couch.
So as she gets herself set up, our girlfriend Tiffany said it absolutely is systematic genocide. That's how I feel, Tiffany. I really feel that that's what's happening to us. I don't want to say those things, but it is what it is. Because even if a person gets held accountable, the murder has already happened. And I mean, why would so many police officers think it's okay to just kill Black children, Black women, Black men, if that hasn't already been their final solution?
That's true.
Kawana says that's why local elections are so important. Come on here. Hold on, watch Nate. Who taught you that?
Wendy R. Torres.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, friend. So let's do the check-in. How are you feeling about the verdict? Where are you in the process? How you feeling?
Oh, for me?
Yeah.
I am excited about the verdict. You know, I know a lot of people are like, we have a long way to go, and we are. It is a very small step. And, you know, like I said, we're trying to unravel years and years of systemic racism that is embedded in the fabric of this country. But, you know, I can't not celebrate the small wins. So for me, you know, I told my kids, I said, let me tell you something, it did go the wrong way. I'm not going to be here tomorrow. Okay. I don't need to be around nobody, because let me tell you, Trayvon Martin, I was so happy that verdict was rendered during the summer, because it ain't no way I could have been around human beings. I needed time away from all mankind, because as you've said so many times before, Wendy, like, Black people are suffering from years of mental abuse, and we need our reparations in the form of therapy. And you know, I just don't feel like, if it had went the wrong way, I just really do not know, not just myself, but what would have been the mental state of so many Black people. Like, we just feel like we just keep taking L's time and time again. You can't even get excited. The fact that we went into this like, I already know what's about to happen. Yep. I already know. I'm trying to mentally prepare myself for snapping on folks. So it's sad that we feel that way, but that is what we have seen time and time again. Once again, with the Breonna Taylors, with the Trayvon Martins, with Eric Garners, with the Philando Castile, we keep seeing it going the wrong way. It's like, I really did have high hopes for the circumstances, but for him to get all 3 charges, you know, found guilty, and I understand, you know, as a political scientist, that chances are he'll probably get 15 to 20 years, because he has to be tried of the bigger crime. So, you know, they're going to go for the murder charge, and that holds up to 40 years, but he also doesn't have a record. So chances are he'll probably get 15 to 20 or whatnot. And like I said, I know a lot of people gonna complain about that. Baby, I'm happy he going to prison.
Can I ask you about, so before we got on, they were talking about the fact that there was a 9-year-old witness that they could ask for the aggressive sentencing on that. One, I've never heard of that. I think they would ask before. So can you explain what that is?
I'm not sure about that part, but I think that they would ask for the aggressive sentencing because he is a police officer and he, above everyone, should know the law better. It's just like, you know, if was tried for, you know, a sexual offense against a child, you're going to get the heavier sentence, because you, of all people, know the law. You, of all people, know how you should handle these circumstances. So for a person of the law to murder someone so maliciously on camera, like, you should know better. So it could go either way, but I think it's probably gonna go 15 to 20, you know, just hit it right there in the middle so that everybody can be appeased.
that
But
one
I've never
piece
heard of that other law, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so that one piece about the 9-year-old is a part of that depraved indifference. So it's the fact that that's a part of the about a part of the homicide piece. So that's the least crime, right? The fact that he did something that affected so that his actions caused the death of a person and also trauma for other people. And so that's in that that lesser charge. And so in other words, the fact that what he did it in the presence of a 9-year-old and she saw it caused her trauma. So that's what he could have actually only gotten charged with that. So he could have gotten charged with that depraved indifference, that homicide. It's not involuntary homicide, that whatever that third lesser charge was. Because the death of George Floyd happened in front of people, and then the people were traumatized by it, and because a 9-year-old witnessed it, but there were also teenagers, remember, so it wasn't just a 9-year-old, there was another teenager present as well. So the jury could have, even if they have found him responsible for manslaughter, thank you, AP, that he could have been found guilty. If they didn't feel like he intentionally murdered George Floyd, they had the opportunity to charge him with causing the trauma to the witnesses that saw him die. Basically, that's what that charge means.
And again, I definitely think that all those things will be taken into consideration, because that was one of the forefronts of the argument, is the fact that these children, that 18-year-old child that called 911 because my boy just trying not to lose $20 out of his paycheck, he said he dreams about that every day. He is holding himself accountable for the death of that man. The baby that's 17 holding the camera like, why didn't I do more? So I do think their testimony will go into consideration, because he did cause trauma to those children. Those kids will forever feel responsible for that. But at the end of the day, it wasn't their cross to bear. It was him doing wrong. So I do think that they will take those all of those factors into consideration. But like I said, babe, I'm crunk about today. You know what I'm saying? I wait on 8 weeks to see going on here. But we're gonna celebrate every week.
I mean, I'm telling you, because when soon as I was I was like half knocked out. These men, and I was like, I woke up. She was the first person I called. I ain't called my mama. I didn't call my sister. I'm like on FaceTime trying to find her number. And I'm like, wait, we're not on FaceTime together. We're on another app. I'm on the app. Forget a phone call. I need to see your eyes when I say this.
Listen, I said, friend, I got to go. I got to get my stuff. I got to leave work. I don't need to be around nobody in this moment. Okay, I need to get to the house. I got to sit down for this, honey.
And what does that say? Like, and people in the comments, like, what was your initial reaction? How were you when you even heard the verdict had been rendered, before we even heard the verdict? Like, what were you thinking? Yes, talking about us. You're right. You listen. I told y'all.
You see, I just sit back and watch them. I don't care. I'll just let them go at it. I enjoy it. You know it. Go ahead, y'all.
Don't let me overtalk you, sir. If you got get in here. Okay, perfect. Get in here. Double Dutch.
Y'all kiki, and I love it.
People tell us where were you in this concept? Our people need a release. That is my greatest prayer and thought for us as a people collectively. We need to. Do you know how hard? Everybody on here knows how hard it is to even acknowledge that you matter. Like, no wonder our relationships don't work. No wonder our dealing with our children doesn't work. No wonder our schools don't work. Our society won't even acknowledge that we are human beings. They had to keep saying that George Floyd was human. AP said she had to yell out, he's guilty.
My dad called me.
Mm-hmm. Same here. My daddy called. He was like, all three, baby, all three.
Oh, that's what he was.
And it's just so crazy because we have to take into consideration. That's why, like I said, when I'm talking to my kids and we're talking about stuff like racism, and one of my students like, ain't nobody more racist than an elderly Black man. And I was like, first of all, I don't believe Black people can be racist, prejudiced, but you got to realize what your granddaddy has seen, because my granddaddy had been through some things. So for me, like, I realized my dad, a 65-year-old man, that grew up during the civil rights movement, that lived during the slaughtering of King, the slaughtering of Malcolm X. Like your parents been through that stuff. Rodney King to us was televised. That was my daddy's life. That could have been him.
Yes.
So all of that. Yeah, my father's uncles were killed by the KKK. So it's like, you don't know what your daddy them been through. That was a celebration. That's why I said we cannot look at this like, oh, it's just a small thing, or who knows what's going to happen next. Let's just celebrate today, because for your granddaddy and your daddy, this was a triumph. Okay, so I'm gonna get crunk for my daddy, nobody else.
Okay, so for about 5. Okay, no, go ahead, Nate.
This is what I wanted to ask. We keep saying we should celebrate. My question is, how do you celebrate?
Well, I done had me a little wine. And for me, my celebration will take place tomorrow in the classroom with my kids, just being able to have intellectual discourse about this and ask them, how they are feeling or whatnot, because we have lived, even though we're relatively young, we have lived through so much. And I used to ask my kids when I first started teaching, like, where were you at 9/11 happened? And now they weren't even born, so I can't ask that anymore. So, this is one of those things I can ask them. I can really see where they are, because, they're going through the same situation, same circumstance. Like, I always say this is their civil rights movement. This is their movement.
So before I answer the question, let's go through these comments of people that were telling us where they were when they heard the verdict. So Tiffany said she called her, AP told us that she was at the nail salon. Tiffany said she called her dad. Kawana said she was at work and she cried at her desk. Talithia, hey Mimi, baby. She said she was at her desk surrounded by white people. All she could do was smile. And AP said you should have tap dance, friend. It could be an exhale. For me,
absolutely.
Celebrating right now is just, I'm really holding a lot back because I'm just trying to get through this podcast, because a sister could be in tears on the floor crying. There's so much weight to be held by us. I'm celebrating by seeing y'all's faces in your comments and knowing that each and every one of you have a little bit of relief tonight. That's how I celebrate being here with you. But I also celebrate remembering there was a message that I preached a couple of months ago that was I can't even remember the name of it right now. The ending of a chapter, the ending of an era. Mm-hmm. God promised us that we would never be the same again, and that there was a shift that was coming in the atmosphere. And he never promised that shift would not come without a fight, but he promised that it would come. So my celebration is this little bit that my God is true. Just a little.
I'll take that. I'll take that. That's not church hurt, but I'll take it.
Well, that one about the people. I got a whole different view about the people. So the one thing that I want to say, that I hope that this case about George Floyd brings about in the Black community, an acknowledgement that we need to talk about, deal with, and acknowledge not just mental health, but substance abuse and addiction. Mm-hmm. George Floyd was vilified, demonized, and the defense tried to criminalize his drug addiction. And had it not been for the brilliance of the prosecutors to bring in a white woman to talk about drug addiction, mm-hmm. and put him in a human light, weaponized it. This man was drug addicted. He was addicted to drug. He wasn't a drug dealer. He wasn't a pusher. He wasn't a drug trafficker. He was a man that was working out his soul salvation with opioid addictions. And they tried to demonize him for that, weaponize that. And I hope in the Black community from this, we acknowledge Uncle T that's in the back room at Granny House that don't nobody deal with and talk to.
Oh, okay, yeah, I got that, Uncle. Okay, I got what you're talking about.
Everybody got one.
Mm-hmm.
And just realize that it is our family members that have drug addictions. You know, white families will go put people in rehab in a heartbeat, and we just deal with it. We got some work to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But had he been white, you know, they had decided that opioids, you know, for white people, that it was an addiction. So, you know, it's just that it's just fitting when it's us. It's a problem when it's us. But, you know, crack versus cocaine, you would go again with that. So whatever.
Come on, Tony. Always.
Till the next episode.
He just said this is giving a pacifier, and you're right. You know what, Tony? But I'm with you on that. I'm gonna go there with you. I'm with you 100% on that. I believe, because I was saying with Tiffany that it's almost like the final solution, that they're killing us on purpose, and if they have to sacrifice a couple of their pawns to win this chess game, they will. Yep. Okay, Derek Chauvin is a pawn in the game that they will sacrifice. This other female cop that got caught up, I meant to pull my taser. No, ma'am. And the people are saying, no, you did. So they might sacrifice her, but because in the end, that's two Black men killed on tape for millions to see, causing us more trauma, reminding us of our place in this society. So you have to look at you're right, it is another episode. You have to look at what is the greater purpose. What's the purpose? Was it really George Floyd? No, it was the people that were watching for Derek.
Right.
Is
it really about, y'all help me with the gentleman that just got killed with the taser? We were supposed to get the baby that they're protesting.
Dante Wright.
Y'all, please charge it to my head and not my heart. I just am horrible with names.
It's so many names to remember.
It's so many to remember. I would have to study them ahead of time. And y'all know that this is a freelance podcast. I won't be remembering. So with the baby, I really feel like all of that is done not for the person that is killed, but for the rest of us. For us to remember our place. Yeah, you got an N-word up there in the White House. He gone now. Yeah, you've done this and that, but don't forget who you are. I really agree with you on that, Tony.
Mental health is a disease for them.
And she's talking about
absolutely opioid addiction. We say it's a disease. They need rehab, and we need execution and to be in prison for it.
Send him away.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I know a lot of people don't understand like the whole, defund the police, abolish the police. Nobody's saying that we don't need police officers. I'm saying that certain circumstances don't need to be policed. I was telling my kids, I don't feel like police need to be on the street. I got a ticket in 2008, honey, and they had 72 pictures of me running the light. They just put it in the mail. They did. So at the end of the day, baby, just, strap a couple cameras, and I couldn't argue it because they had me from all angles, baby, running that light. It was from all angles, zoomed in, like it was really efficient. And that was doggone 12 years ago. So at the end of the day, honey, just throw a couple cameras up on these doggone highways and byways and, put the ticket in the mail.
Yeah. Right, so that they can deal with real issues, and then they have the people they need. And even speaking to the qualifications, right? Like I think someone talked about today about you got a 20-year-old that you just give a gun and a shiny car, and
baby, you need 6 to 8 years of education to understand the law. Right. To be a lawyer, but you need 18 months of training to execute? Like, no. How do you get 18 months to enforce it? But you need years and years of studying just to legislate, to come up with laws to really, like that's crazy. That doesn't even make any sense. Lawyers don't have a gun.
Right. Was she cute in the picture, AP? That's what I want to know. AP says she
Let me tell you,
remembered.
my daddy called me. Girl, listen, my daddy called me. Like, so you getting tickets now? I don't know what you're speaking of, father. He like, I got 17 pictures now to say you ran a red light. Now you say you didn't do it.
17.
So let's speak to how the police really don't know the law. So I'm gonna break it down. I should look at the ordinance, but I'm gonna break this down for you. So in the state of Georgia, House bill, there was a House bill passed a couple of years ago about driving past a school bus, because it's so you can get a ticket when the school bus stops. You have to stop. However, in that ordinance, which I have read several times, if it is a 4-lane highway with a median in the middle, if you're on the other side, you don't have to stop. And you know why you don't have to stop? Because ain't nobody's baby finna get out of a school bus and cross 5 lanes of traffic to go to somewhere on the other side. They have to stop and turn around. Every time I'm on Mableton Parkway, all the people stop. And you know what I do to them? I go right around them and keep going. So one time,
Wendy, I've been victimized. I'm a witness. I got a ticket for that last year in Marietta, and I was like, I'm a teacher. I did not pass a school bus. I was on the other side of a 6-lane highway with a median, and the bus stopped. What are you talking about? I don't have to stop.
And they tried to stop me on Mableton Parkway and give me a ticket for keep going. But I'm smart. I want y'all to know what I did. I have a picture of the ordinance, Senate Bill 1 something, whatever, and pulled up the picture and showed it to the police. I did like this with my phone and waited. And he said, you can go, man. You don't even know the ordinances.
No.
You don't even know what the laws are. That's what you need to know. What are you arresting me for? George Floyd he's being arrested for forgery right now. What evidence do you have?
Didn't even check the $20 bill. It would have took you 2 seconds.
You didn't even go inside the store.
2 seconds in the highlighter, we could have been at.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there has to be a median. You're right. That's what my point.
Yeah, there's a median. Yeah,
If there's a middle lane, if there's a median between, you don't have to stop. But they do every single time. Okay, so I'm really hoping.
I'm watching and listening as I enjoy doing most times, Kidji. Leave me alone.
Oh no! I won't. So no, Emil. I mean, so where do you think we need to? So let me flip the script. Where do you think we go from here?
I'm fine.
Where
are we gonna go from here?
Mm-hmm. Yes, you, sir. Unmute yourself.
Is he me frozen?
I think from here, I lost you just as you wanted me to talk. Go figure. From here, I think it's time for us just to go to the next case. I'm not a big celebration person, which is why I'm willing to allow people to celebrate. I'm with the deep breaths. I'm with the I'm with that. I get it. Especially when my dad called, I get it. He had some excitement in his voice as he did it. He also was like, congratulations. And I was like, I didn't do nothing, but okay. I get it, right? I get the thing. I just want us to go so much further. And I know we have to catch up. We're really behind. And unfortunately, I feel like my generation is really trying to play that catch up because the last generation got lazy and let us down. They didn't do their part in this battle. So it's unfortunate that the upcoming generation is having to jump on that bandwagon with us. But that's just where I'm at. And I'm happy for a family. That's where I feel peace. I feel like I'm happy that a family gets to go home and goes to sleep tonight and know that their country actually served them. They actually got some form of justice. They can sleep in peace. And now my prayer is that we actually get like a dozen more of these, so that we can actually, again, I want to get to a point where in 3 months we don't talk about or haven't heard about Black people, men, women, any gender, however you identify yourself, any of us killed. Period. Like, I just want to get to that point. And when we get to that point, then I'm a jump for joy and twerk on stage.
So I have 2 more questions, and this is for the people in the audience and for our panelists as we close out. So for us, first of all, those of you in the audience, what do you think our next steps are? And then my other question was, I can't think of it that fastly. So what do you guys think that we like? What do you all think our next steps need to be as a people? What should we be doing? Like, how do we move forward? And you know, I guess I'll just stay right there.
Find a way to use our gifts to be involved, says Ashley. Very true.
I like that everyone can do something. You know, silence is complicitness, right? So if you're silent, you're in agreement. So say something, do something in your community.
We just need to get back into like volunteering.
And
volunteer within ourselves, like going back to the Boys and Girls Club, going to the local shelter. Like, let's just get back into our own. Tony said reparations.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have this conversation because I'm ready for some reparations.
Season 3.
Okay. Yes.
All right, absolutely.
What do you guys think?
And
what do you think reparations would be? Hill, Nate, what do you think reparations? What are reparations to you?
Well, it's not the same check. I mean, it's not that the government has not handed out check to the descendants of foolery. I mean, they definitely did so with Japanese internment. Those folks got a $20,000 check in 1990s for something that happened in 1941. So, I mean, it's not above the government to hand out a check to people who have been tried up or the descendants.
Oh, okay.
But I'm definitely with Chris. What would you say?
He said I read it wrong. What did he say, Nate? What did he say? Repartitioning? What did he say?
Repartitionation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's time to bring Tony.
Repatriation.
Yeah, Tony.
I just said, Tony, come on, tell us. Because
it's just time for you to come on the show, sir.
Yeah, it's time to have a conversation.
Come on, Tony, because
I'm ready to pick your head.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's time to just talk about the Black community in general with Tony.
Exactly. Yeah, don't laugh. I'm serious.
Right.
I just made up the word.
Drop the Webster definitions now for the people.
Hello.
Sir. Okay, come on now.
That's what happened when you got real smart friends.
Come on, smart friend. I love it. I'm here for it.
Right.
I am here for it.
So Chris said, avoid all criminal activity, helping others succeed and turn to God.
I think avoiding criminal activity is easier said than done. Because I mean, it's just like people talking about these PPP loans right now because they didn't drop the list of everybody who got one. And be clear, I studied this very thoroughly for those in my hometown that got these business loans. I ain't got nobody business, but I'm not judging, baby. Get your reparations because the thing is, white people been stealing from the system for years, baby. But at the end of the day, you just make sure you're doing the right thing with these folks' money because they'll come after us for these $10,000. Meanwhile, Ritz-Carlton stole $4 million and everybody looking at them. So, we have to be, very careful with what it is that we do. But I say, it's just hard to avoid criminal activity because we get criminalized by stuff that white people just don't. All the people in jail for selling a little weed and it's legal in 17 states, let them folks go.
Seriously.
Oh,
Let them go and give us some stocks in the cannabis industry.
Come on now.
Or give them their jobs. Let them go back to work doing what they know how to do.
Exactly.
Because clearly they were doing it good enough that you got their attention.
Come on now.
I really
So-
think I really feel some type of way about cannabis companies making billions of dollars off of something that you locked our sons up for. I got a
They
real
still in jail for it. That's so outlandish to me that people are in prison for something that's so legal. You can walk to certain stores in certain states and get it. Like, what are we doing at this point? When the first state made it legal, y'all should just let our folk go.
that's why every time I go talk at a school, when they ask me to come and speak about entrepreneurship, I do not care. I'm going to talk to teenage boys about not buying one pair of Nikes and investing in a cannabis company. You need to take that $100 and something $20 you're going to spend on shoes and invest in the company that they try to lock you up for. Don't you let these people make billions and dollars off of us again. Okay, and
you
then
got to do no work. All you got to do is not buy the sneakers, and in 5 years, you good to go.
right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's simple.
So AP defined the word for us. She said that it meant to return back to your own country.
No, baby, we're not gonna do that because this is all I know. I ain't going I don't know where my own country is.
So Tequila said everybody and their mama opening up dispensaries.
Right, making money out
Yep.
in prison. Then people are imprisoned for this.
Also, do you know that most of the CBD companies that are opening up in states that are not legal are simply opening up so that when they do go legal, they are able to switch over to cannabis first. And so that is why if you looked at Georgia, like if you look at Georgia right now, there's tons of CBD. Most of these CBD places, once Georgia legalizes cannabis, will turn into a cannabis dispensary because they have the infrastructure to do so. All they have to do is purchase the license.
Okay, we're going to have a whole show on entrepreneurship and these businesses. So get to Annie's comment.
Okay.
Reparations. Okay, there you go.
Go ahead.
Mm-mm.
Reparations, accountability on the part of every white person to learn and reevaluate our part in the anti-racism on the daily. Requirements for anti-racism education starting in early childhood nationwide.
Right, which was what the 1619 project was initially attempting to do until it was demonized as child abuse by the last administration. So let's hope we can move back in that right direction. Remember, go
it
ahead.
was child abuse with the Catholic Church was beating all their children because they didn't want to pray. Oops, I said it. Church hurt. Okay.
Hence why we're gonna come back to it.
Okay, come on, Annie. Yes, girl.
Thank you. And then AP said, meanwhile, on the plantation, there are more white owners of cannabis businesses for the same dime bags we are serving time for. And that is my problem and my point. I don't agree. Listen, at whatever I might have felt about marijuana at a time and point is out the window. I'll be doggone if you're going to make billions of dollars off of something that you locked up our sons for, and basically an industry that should belong to us.
I say that about all drugs and drug usage. I tell my kids all the time, the government is not making stuff illegal because they care about your health. Baby, cigarettes are on sale at every store, okay? And that ain't nothing but selling you cancer. Baby, you can go get $2 and you can go get you some liquor. Like, the government is not making this stuff illegal because they are trying to look out for you. I had a hole in my leg and these folks gave me crack. It was like, make sure. I was like, what? Like, I got oxy or whatnot. And they were like, you can't throw these pills away. You have to bring them back to the police station. Baby, keep that crack. Keep that crack. I will heal naturally. At the end of the day, once the government find out how to get their piece of the profit, everything will be legal.
Go ahead.
Once they learn how to tax it, they're going to get their money. At one point in time, alcohol was illegal. And then the government was like, well, what if we opened up the facilities in order to manufacture? What if we put a tax on it? Yeah. Once they find out how to tax it, baby, it's over. Everything going to be out there.
And one thing about even going back to where we are with the Derek Chauvin verdict and where we are as a society, America has finally realized that guess what? We are a commodity. We've always been a commodity to them with our music, our culture, our hair, those physical things. But now they understand that our spending power and our political power and being in this concept of Black Lives Matters actually has some economic benefit. So let's not be a pawn in their Ponzi scheme, in their chess game. Let's always stay vigilant and on our game as we're talking about next steps. And when I say that, you cannot, I know we want to celebrate, and we are celebrating. I'm very excited tonight. And at the same time, voter suppression is always on my mind. We have got to be vigilant in every area and aspect of this life so that our children's children can reap the benefit. One of the things that I was talking, I think AP and I were talking about this about a year ago. If you think about us as a people, we didn't get freedom from slavery, physical slavery, till 1865, and or Hill would say no, it was when did Juneteenth was it's still 1865.
Yeah, it was 1865. Right? Yes,
1865 is just a different date. So 1865, but we didn't really get real freedom because of Jim Crow, black codes, and other things till 1965. It's 2021. That's not even 60 years. So if you think about that, we are a people that is only 60 years old in understanding government, politics, wielding economics, wealth, the American system, and every time, and that shows you how intelligent, how brilliant we are as a people.
Right.
And every time we get forward, they try to change the game up on us. And so we can't get weary.
We can't get too lax and we cannot get too comfortable. And we've seen that happen. Just like Emil said, we have done it time and time again. Slavery ended in 1865. People got really overjoyed about that circumstance. And then we had years of black codes, laws that only black people, like slavery never ended. The 13th Amendment says you can't be a slave unless you are imprisoned. So let's make up laws that only people of color can violate. And now we got more people in prison, 4 times as many people in prison of color than were slaves in 1864. So what did we really do? So we got really comfortable for 50 years. And then here comes the civil rights movement. And we had those people on the ground. And then it ended. And so then we got really, really comfortable in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And now here we are again. And so that's why I say I charge the millennials. I charge Generation Y, Generation Z. That's why people be talking about these Generation Z babies. But let me tell you something. These babies, they charged up. The ones I teach be crunk, okay, about the good movement. So at the end of the day, we need to speak this life into our kids and let them know that we still have a long way to go. So we can never get too comfortable because there is still so much of the fight left for us to fight. So yeah, I'm gonna celebrate today, baby, but I'm gonna go back to educating the children tomorrow, get them on charge.
Thank you.
About the nation.
And that leads right to Kiji's comment. You're right. True. As scary as the truth is, continue focusing on literacy and not just aesthetics. We've got to make sure our kids know how to wield money. Well, guys, our time has been well spent tonight. We could talk all night, but we just wanted to be here with you a little bit. Thank you, Hill Story, for being here with us. I wouldn't rather be anywhere but with the two of you tonight trying to work this out. Let me see. What did Tiffany say? Right here. I believe we are in a moment of reprieve after nearly losing the country to Trump. We need to take full advantage of the time to drive progress. The one thing that I hope that we can do as we get ready to close out is we need to start being a people that is proactive. I know that we are, as a collectivist people, we breathe and move collectively. We feel for each other. And we really don't want to be bothered. White folks, we really don't want to be bothered with y'all. We just want to live our own life. Other people be thinking about us. Isn't that called envy? But anyway, we just want to live. But But since we live here and we're not going to do what Tony told us to do and go back where we came from, we need to start being strategic and we have to be proactive. So when we come back next season, we're going to be talking a lot about some of those proactive measures. Hill and Nate, you guys can close us out.
What? How you going? What?
Baby, I just came here, baby. I'm just visiting.
I can say I'm done
You gotta
talking.
be proactive versus reactive. You better say that. But go ahead.
Yeah. Somehow or another, me and Hill Story go close out the show. Y'all, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Mentor Mentee podcast. Next week, we are doing our season 2 finale. We're talking about first dates, the do's and the don'ts of first dates. It's the 21st century. Look at Hill Story.
That's the one I should have been on, baby. I'm a serial face, baby. I'm through now. I'm through. If the good Lord don't bring them to my door, it's over. I'm done.
So that one, that should be fun. So get ready with what your do's and your don'ts are, so that we can have that conversation. Damn, bro, already.
It's too much, kid. I ain't coming to that one.
Y'all, it's been over 12 episodes already.
Yeah, we did it. So season 3 is going to be quite different. We're going to have a new true setup. Wendy and I are going to be in person finally. We're surely going to do an in-person setup. So it should be great. It should be fun. More guests, because then we get to bring them in. So it's going to be an official little TV show at this point. So we're excited for y'all for kicking it through with us, letting us build up all of this material and figure out what works and doesn't work with us. But we've been having a lot of fun. So without further ado, thank you, Hill Story, for joining us for another episode.
Thank you, guys.
And ladies and gentlemen, I am Emil Thomas.
And I am Wendy Torres.
Have a fantastic evening.
Bye.
Bye. I gotta find the button, y'all. Bye.